Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tarajuava Putreti Tanmayatayo Taravo Bhinedus Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Bhaktya-vihina parada-lakshay kshiptascha kamari taranga-madhye kripa-maitam sharanam prabhana Vinde namaste charanarvindam Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna. So today I'll be beginning to read from the audio lectures of Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And so first of all, I'm offering my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Sripad Bhaktabandhav Rasikananda Maharaj and at the lotus feet of Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Bhaktabandhav Srila Gurudev, and at the lotus feet of Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, begging for their causeless mercy. And so Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West and he spoke so much Harikatha, and much of it was recorded on little tape cassettes. From beginning here, the first lecture I'm starting from is March 2nd, 1966, all the way up until 1977. Until he left this world, he was speaking the glories of Krishna, which are unlimited. And so all glories to those devotees who transcribed all of these lectures, that we can now read them and gain so much spiritual benefit from all of this philosophy. Srila Prabhupada, he would say that, how long can you go on sentimentally chanting Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He said, one day you will have to understand all of these things. And so we can see that our acharyas, they give and speak so much Harikatha. And that's why Shravanam is the first limb of bhakti. We can understand the intricacies of Krishna and devotion to his lotus feet, and what is this world and who are we really, and all of these things we hear from the lotus lips of Sri Guru, the representative of Krishna. So, writing that down. So I'm very excited to read through this, begin to read through his spoken lectures. I've already read through the whole thing, and so I'll just give the gist, summarize, and paraphrase, and include anything else that I've heard. I wanted to say something about how our acharyas give so much harikatha, and then I forgot. Right, so Srila Prabhupada, he says somewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's describing how a mendicant or a person in the renounced order is receiving everything that he needs to maintain his life by the Lord himself, is giving him everything he needs to survive. There's tattered clothes on the street, left over from anyone else or from dead persons, whoever. Then there's water in the rivers. You can use your hand as a pillow. And there's ample fruits on the trees and so many things. And so, like that, it's describing how a person can be completely dependent on the Lord without really needing to do anything. Krsna will maintain that person. And there's no need to over-endeavor for our bare minimum necessities for survival. And in the purports to that section, Srila Prabhupada is saying that this doesn't mean that the person in the renounced order does not have any duty and can simply live at the cost of society. This is not the case. What is the duty of somebody in the renounced order? And we see in the caste system there's 4 stages of life, varna and ashram. The first one is brahmachari, student life, then householder life, then retired life, and then renounced life, sannyas. 3 out of the 4 stages of life are stages of renunciation. The brahmachari is renounced and celibate. The retired person is renounced and celibate, as well as the sannyasi. Only the grihastha is maintaining himself, having some job, some profession, working like this. And the grihastha, the householder, is meant to support the other 3 stages of life. The student, like this, the retired person, the sannyas. They're feeding them, clothing them, maintaining them, everything. But that doesn't mean that the spiritualist in the renounced order doesn't have some duty to perform to society. The duty of someone in the renounced order is to help towards enlightening the general population. And it's described in the Bhagavatam that the renounced persons in the renounced order are going to the houses of the fallen householders. It's described like that in Shastra, that householders, they're, by dint of their absorption and engagement and attachment to householder life and the home and the children and the wife and everything and money, they have no time for spiritual life practically, and they are not completely one-pointedly focused on the goal of life, which is attaining service to Krishna in the spiritual abode in one spiritual form. Remembrance, constant remembrance of Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting his holy names. And so therefore the renounced order of life people, they go to their houses and they give them a chance to serve the saintly persons and hear some Harikatha, hear about Krishna, develop their love and attachment for Krishna, understand how they can progress in spiritual life. So this is the duty of someone in the renounced order. And specifically, Srila Prabhupada, he says that the first duty of one in the renounced order is to make some literary contribution to society, and in that way help towards enlightening the general population about the sweetness and the beauty of Krishna and service to his lotus feet, and also an understanding of who is God and who are we and what is our constitutional position as the soul, and the science of devotional service like this. So this is their first duty, is to make these literatures that people can read and help come closer to God and understand the necessity of worshiping Krishna, surrendering one's life to God, and offering one's very self to serving Him. And the result that one will attain if they do not engage in the service of the Lord. Helping people remove the ignorance of the conditioned souls. This is the main occupation of those in the renounced order who are practicing spirituality. Spiritual life is to help those who are trapped in ignorance, covered by ignorance, and help liberate them and enlighten them in transcendental knowledge by giving them transcendental sound vibration in the form of words. And then Prabhupada said the second duty is by having learned discourses amongst each other. Just like he said, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, Rupa and Sanatan, in Sevakunj in Vrindavan, the holy abode of Krishna, where he appeared on this earth. And so this is the main duty of someone in the renounced order. And so our acharyas, they come, and that is their duty, and that is their gift to us. Gurudev said, I've brought so many jewels, and I want to give you so many jewels. These jewels are all of these philosophical understandings. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the discussion between Roy Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Roy Ramananda, or rather Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, describes Mahaprabhu as an ocean of jewel-like philosophical conclusions. And from that jewel-like ocean, I think he called it a Ratna Samudra, something like this, a jewel-like ocean. Roy Ramananda is like the clouds pulling the essence of that ocean of knowledge out of Mahaprabhu, and in the form of their discussion of questions and answers, Roy Ramananda is raining that knowledge back down on Mahaprabhu from which it came, from where it came from. So Srila Gurudev, he said once that the only thing, we can't give you any money, we can't give you any worldly happiness, material enjoyment, sense gratification. The only thing that we can give you is Harikatha. And we see that in the lives of our acharyas, constantly speaking about Krishna. And Krishna is unlimited. It said, Hari Ananta, Hari Kata Ananta. That because Krishna, or Hari, that all-attractive Lord who is stealing the minds and hearts, Hari means to steal, the one who steals away. So Hari is that Supreme Lord who's stealing away our minds and hearts with his unlimited beauty and opulence. He is unlimited. He is ever youthful, and similarly, his Harikatha, the narrations of his pastimes and his activities and his beauty and his qualities and his forms, this is similarly unlimited. Even Ananta Shesh, the last fraction of his incarnations, which is also unlimited, has millions and millions of mouths, and he is holding all the unlimited universes on his hoods. He's got millions of heads. He's like a many-headed snake. And with his mouth, his many, many mouths, he's constantly chanting the glories of Krishna. And even he cannot find an end to those glories. So we see that Gurudev would say, everything is in the Vedas. Vyasadeva made the 4 Vedas. And so why did he write then more Upanishads and more Puranas and Mahabharata, and then Ramayana is there, and then he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, and then all the Goswamis, they wrote so many commentaries on the Bhagavatam and so many of their own books. And then all of our acharyas, they're writing so many more literatures. But it's still coming out. That's because the discussions of Krishna are filled with so much bliss and so much love and sweetness. And also his love and sweetness and pastimes, they're unlimited. And there's no end to them. It's the ever-expanding ocean of transcendental bliss and love and affection. And there's always ever new and ever fresh realizations and things being revealed. And so Gurudev would say, more books, new books. It's never ending, so we cannot ever reach the end of it, nor would we want to, because it is so relishable. But anyhow, I'll speak about this class that Srila Prabhupada is giving. This is the first class that we have, at least here, recorded and transcribed, given in March 2nd, 1966 by Srila Prabhupada on the first few verses of the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, verses 7 to 11 of the 2nd chapter. And so basically, Arjuna, he is determining that he will not fight in this battle of Mahabharata, of Kurukshetra. He does not want to kill his family members and relatives, and so he's putting down his bow and arrow. And Prabhupada is saying that he's giving up his duty, and that although it may seem externally like Arjuna is doing the right thing from a general point of view, this is not what Krishna wants him to do. And so it is, although it may seem very great in terms of the general population, It may not be approved by the supreme authority, Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is saying. And the sentiment of the public may say, this is a very good thing, that he's not wanting to kill and engage in war. But factually, it may not be correct. The living entities may not have the right understanding, and it may not be what Krishna wants. What Krishna wants may not be what the general people want. And so the general people, they may be covered by ignorance, and they may not understand what is right and what is wrong. And they may be illusioned into thinking that something should be done when really it shouldn't be, and it's not the desire of Krishna. So that's an important point that Prabhupada makes, that although it may seem like he's doing something improper, really this is what Krishna wants. And we'll understand that later, but basically Krishna wanted to establish religion. He wanted to establish eternal and pure happiness in this world, and love and service to God. But all of these other people on the Kaurava's side, they were all demons, and they were preaching the opposite thing, that we should just try to eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, and don't think about God, don't worship God. But this is not the way to be eternally happy, and we'll hear more about that. But at this point, Arjuna, he's surrendering to Krishna as his spiritual master. He's saying, I'm very confused about what to do. I don't understand. I know it's my duty to kill them, but I don't want to. I would rather go door to door and beg and maintain my life than to kill my family members. So please, I'm perplexed. Please help me understand what I should do. And Prabhupada mentions that someone approaches a spiritual master for transcendental knowledge when he is in some confusion, when he begins to inquire about the deeper meanings of life, and especially when he begins to realize that he is suffering, and he wants to make a solution to his suffering. Prabhupada says that is when a person approaches a guru. Otherwise, he will not care to approach a guru, Prabhupada is saying. He does not want to make his life perfect. He thinks everything is okay in this world. I'm very happy here. Why do I need to learn about God and surrender to a guru? And so Prabhupada says this is the very first part of spiritual life, is that he realizes that he is suffering. And later on in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described that there's 4 kinds of people who come and approach Krishna. Those who are inquisitive about it, those who are looking for knowledge, those who are distressed and unhappy, and those who are looking for wealth or having some material desires. These 4 kinds of people all approach Krishna for their respective desires. And so we see very often that, again, the people who are suffering the most are the most inclined towards seeking out a solution to their suffering and some kind of higher power that can help them, relieve them of all their suffering and make a solution to this. And generally those who are in distress, they will call out to God and pray for His mercy that He will save them from this terrible condition, whatever terrible condition of life that they're in. And really, we're all in a very terrible condition of life, no matter who you are, whether you're rich or you're poor. Our acharyas say that everyone, they have to experience old age. They have to experience death. They have to experience the threefold miseries of life. And the pain of birth and the pain of death. Whether you're a king or a street beggar, you will have to experience all these things. You can get cancer at any moment. You will have to get old. There's no one that can save you from that. And so, anyone who is, he stresses here a lot that what is the inquiry that is the preliminary requirement for approaching a spiritual master and searching out a spiritual master? That anyone who wants to know anything, they must approach some kind of expert in that. And so similarly with transcendental matters, we should try to search after a guru who can help us in transcendental things. He says that if you want to go to a school, then you have to know what a school is, and you have to know what you want to learn there and everything. You can't go to a cloth shop and learn. And so he's saying here, the first inquiry, the preliminary inquiry of spiritual life is that every human being is suffering. And we've heard this now many times, but it's very important to understand that everyone is suffering. So much. We'll hear more about how we're suffering. And Prabhupada is saying that someone who is in ignorance, they don't understand that they're suffering. Like a dog or a cat or any animal, they're seeing all of their fellow animals be slaughtered right in front of them. But yet they're just eating grass and they're thinking everything is okay. They don't understand. They're in complete ignorance of what is going on. But the thing about this human intelligence is we can understand that we will die and that this is a terrible situation that we're in. And so he's saying that an animal is not aware of the sufferings that he is undergoing. And that is the distinction between a man and an animal. So that Prabhupada is saying if a man is not awakened to his suffering, then he is in animal consciousness. Prabhupada is saying we should not forget that we are always under suffering. We can see there's so much suffering in this world. Prabhupada is talking about here the three kinds of suffering: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. He's saying one kind of suffering belongs to the body and the mind. Suppose I'm getting some headache, right? Everyone experiences that sometimes, some very painful headache. One moment I'm feeling very warm, very hot. Then I'm feeling very cold. Like right now it's winter. It's very, very cold here. And it's only going to get more cold. It's very windy. It's very painful to be outside. And if we don't have warmth, then that's so much suffering. So many bodily sufferings are there. Prabhupada is saying then there's sufferings of the mind. And he's saying that sometimes somebody maybe calls you some kind of name, or abuses you, or humiliates you, like this. Or maybe we lose some object that we have. We can all understand that when we lose our phone, right? We're so attached to our phone. We experience so much anxiety and so much pain and suffering and so much fear that, oh, what if I don't find my phone? How will I survive? How will I look up videos on the internet? How will I talk to my most beloved? And so Also, Prabhupada is saying that we may lose some other person in this world that we're attached to, some friend, or maybe our mother or our father or some relative. And so we experience some mental suffering from having that person in our lives, and so many other things. So much suffering is there, that separation. So many things. These are the sufferings of the body and the mind. So many diseases, so many back pain and foot pain and arm pain and all kinds of pain. I slept on my arm the wrong way a couple nights ago, and I have so much pain all in my arm, and I can't even hardly move my arm without it hurting, shooting pain. And this is simply this material world. There's danger at every step. You can be walking down the street and somebody can shoot you. Or you can get hit by a car, driving anywhere. There's just so many kinds of pain. So then people, they take painkillers, and that's even worse, because then they get addicted to that, and then they can't live without it, and then so many symptoms of withdrawal and so many other side effects come from that, so much constipation and so many other diseases that happen because of this. So there's no doubt that there's so much pain and suffering, the body and the mind. And then the sufferings by nature. This is called Adi Daivika, from the demigods. We have no control over these sufferings. In every suffering, we have no control. Especially, Prabhupada is saying, suppose there's heavy snowfall. This is in New York. Prabhupada is giving this lecture. This was like the first place he began preaching. He came to America, to Boston, Massachusetts, and then he came to New York. And that's where he first started preaching. And then he went to, all over the world. But this was the first place, New York. He said, suppose there's heavy rain, heavy snowfall, and the whole New York City is flooded with snow. We are all put into inconvenience by this. That is a sort of suffering. You have no control over this. You cannot stop snow from falling. We see that here at our ashram. If there's so much snow and there's so much ice, it's very, very difficult. So much slipping. You can slip on the ice and fall and break your bones, and it's very difficult to drive anywhere. You have to, in the very cold, you have to shovel all the snow and hurt your back and do so many things and mess with the snowplow, and then your car may slide and run off and crash into something, and so much inconvenience, so much suffering because of this. But we have no control over the snow falling. It is impossible. If there's some wind, Prabhupada is saying, some cold wind, you cannot stop that wind. Again, so. And attack, adibhotika. There's also the attack from other living entities, like some enemy or some animal or some worm, right? People, they're out and they get attacked by some mountain lion or some bear or some kind of insect, and they get so many diseases, and also enemies, like this, someone can rob you. And so there's always so many kinds of sufferings, but we don't want all these sufferings. Therefore, someone who is intelligent, someone who's inquisitive will think, how can I stop all these sufferings? Arjuna here, he's bewildered because it's his duty to fight with his enemy, but his enemy are his family members. And so he's confused. What should I do? I don't want to kill my family members, but yet it is my dharma, it is my duty. And so such a person who's inquisitive about who's awakened to the fact that he is suffering in so many ways, but yet we don't want all of these sufferings, that person is required to approach a spiritual master when he is conscious, when he is no longer like an animal, Prabhupada is saying. But if someone is like an animal and he does not know that he is always in suffering, he does not care, and he does not want to make a solution to all these things, then he does not want to accept a spiritual master. So we should try to go from being like an animal, thinking that we are happy in this world, to finding some sort of solution to all of these miseries. This was the first 2 questions of Sanatana Goswami to Mahaprabhu was, who am I really? And why am I suffering the threefold miseries of this material existence? And he's saying, regardless, even if somebody may forget that they're suffering, or they're ignorant of their suffering because of taking so much intoxication, that still does not take the fact away that there is suffering. So when someone is serious, he will try to find a guru who can help liberate him from this ignorance and this terrible situation. And Prabhupada is saying here again, it's very beautiful to hear this, because he's saying the exact same thing as Srila Gurudev, just in a different way. Srila Gurudev would say that Prabhupada, he's saying that you should not drink. He's saying that you should drink water, and Gurudev is saying that you should drink pure water. And it's like they're saying the same thing, but basically Prabhupada is saying you should not drink impure water, and Gurudev is saying you should drink pure water. It's the same thing, but different ways of saying it. The same wine in a new bottle. So he's saying that, what is the solution to all of these sufferings? And Prabhupada is saying, why do you go to school? Why do you go to be educated? And that this Vedic knowledge is the solution to all of your suffering. And he's saying that people, they go to school so that they can end their suffering. They think that if I'm educated, then I will be happy. The ultimate aim is happiness. He's saying this right here. To become happy is our ultimate objective. Prabhupada is saying happiness is the end of every pursuance. How beautiful. But all of these material things and material forms of happiness, he's saying this is very temporary mitigation of your suffering. Prabhupada would say that the highest happiness in this material world is sex life. But he said, how long? How long can this happiness last? He said, maybe 2-3 minutes, max. So it is very fleeting. And he's saying that our suffering is due to our being in this material existence. We have to get out of this material existence completely. And therefore we take shelter of a spiritual master who is a perfect person. And therefore this is the necessity of anyone who wants to end his material sufferings. We have to take shelter of a spiritual master. And Gurudev would say something also, that everything that we're doing, we see that we have so much so-called material advancement. We have such great technology now in all industries, Gurudev would say. The medical industry, the entertainment industry, the agricultural industry, and communication industry. We can talk to somebody on the other side of the world. We can see what's happening on the other side of the world in an instant by looking at the television and looking at the internet and social media. So many things. He said we can replace someone whose heart has failed, we can replace their heart and they can become alive again. He said we can even replace their brain and they can live again. We have such highly advanced technology and industry. And this is all so that we can mitigate our sufferings and try to end all of our sufferings. Gurudev said that we have so much nice facility now in our homes and everything. At the push of a button, warm air can come, cool air can come, right? We suffer because of this cold and heat. And we can have our bathroom by the push of a button, Gurudevs would say. And so many nice, comfortable facilities. All because we're trying to end all of our sufferings. But Prabhupada is saying that mitigation is temporary. We have to end our sufferings for good, Prabhupada is saying. And that sort of knowledge is called transcendental knowledge. And we get this from the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, Arjuna, he's surrendering to Krishna, who is the perfect person. And Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is the most perfect man, right? Something Srila Bhaktibandav Rasikananda Maharaj would say is that counterfeit money is dependent on the existence of real money. And so, if there are imperfect people in this world, then that must be dependent on there being a perfect person. And that perfect person is Krishna and his associates, who are all transcendental and perfect. They are not illusioned. They cannot make mistakes. They are not cheating others. And their senses are perfect. They know everything. So, Guru and the pure devotee and Krishna himself, they are the most perfect people who we can surrender to, who can help us understand what is reality, and they can remove our ignorance and be happy forever, and also be transcendental to all of these material sufferings. There's no birth, there's no death, there's no sorrow, there's no suffering, there's no old age, there's no disease in the spiritual world. That place exists, that place is real, and we can go there. And so, Prabhupada is saying here, a spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. That he's saying Krishna is not present before us, we cannot take his shelter. But at least we must have a person as our spiritual master who represents Krishna. And who can represent Krishna, Prabhupada is saying? One who is a devotee of Krishna in the line of disciplic succession. So therefore, Arjuna, he is accepting Krishna as his spiritual master and surrendering to him directly and begging that he can instruct him and tell him what to do. Arjuna, he does not want to fight, and he's asking Krishna to remove his confusion. So one last thing that I'll say about the sufferings of this world is that although there's so much advancement, technological advancement, Gurudev would say that nobody is actually happy. And he would say, what is the reason for this? Because there's no love and affection. That husband and wife, they cannot trust each other. He would say that they have separate bank accounts. And the children, they do not trust the parents. And he said, people, they have more faith in their dogs than they do each other. And actually he said that even in the midst of so many technological advancements, people are more unhappy. They're becoming more and more distant from each other. And the reason is that he said there's no love and affection for each other. And that the basis of our happiness is this love and affection. And that this is the most important principle in our lives if we are to find happiness. Real pure happiness means real pure love. And that is only possible in a transcendental, eternal body in relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world. And experiencing that love and that service that is never broken. And also, if we love Krishna, then we can actually love all living entities and everything. We will see everything in connection with Krishna, and we can always be happy. Otherwise, if we are on the material platform, we are always having these likes and dislikes, and accepting and rejecting. That I like this person and I like these people, but I don't like that person and I don't like these people. Because we are imagining some sort of separation between the Lord and His creation and ourselves. But if we can love God, then we can see everything in connection with Him, and we will never experience anything except that pure love and affection. And there will be no opportunity to be anything but happy. A devotee is transcendental to all the material happiness and unhappiness of this world, because they are always absorbed in that bliss of loving service to the Supreme Lord. And they always see His mercy everywhere and everything in connection with Him. So that's one more thought I wanted to offer. That the way to mitigate all of these sufferings is developing that love and affection for Krishna, and then immediately love and affection will come for all living entities, like Gurudev would say, and very easily everything will go on. No one will think that this is my land and this belongs to me and you are encroaching on my land and I will kill you and we will have a war and there'll be so much violence and all these things. This is not the proper understanding. If there's God consciousness, then there would be no more suffering. There would be no more lacking of this universal love and affection which everyone is looking for. There'd be no more separation between all living entities. We would see all living entities as our God brothers and God sisters, Gurudev would say, because Krishna is the creator. God created everything. And therefore, we are all like brothers and sisters of that Supreme Godhead. So we have to hear these things so many times so that we can really bring it into our heart and act on that platform and really begin to see all living entities like our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, objects of our love and our service, and then there would be no lacking, there would be no problems. There would only be love and service and happiness, and there'd be no fighting and all of these things. So then we could be happy, which is the end of every pursuance, as Srila Prabhupada is saying. Everything that we do is just so that we can be happy. And therefore we submit to a spiritual master who can help us learn the art of devotional service and praying, which, having attained, all problems in this world become insignificant, and we can attain everlasting happiness in the face of any obstacle or any circumstance, because it's simply we can simply understand that it's Krishna's desire and it's His mercy that we can always remember Him. Queen Kunti, she's praying in the Srimad Bhagavatam that may I undergo suffering after suffering, and may problem after problem come to me. Because when I experience so many problems and so much suffering, then that's when I remember you, and that's when I call out to you for your mercy. And so may again and again I have so many problems, because then I can constantly remember you and call out to you for your mercy and become completely dependent on you, and then you will come and you will save me, and this will be a cause of great joy and happiness and bliss. But generally, when everything is okay, like Queen Kunti and the Pandavas, when everything was okay and there was no problem, Krishna was going somewhere else and helping somebody else who was calling out to them in their time of distress and their time of need. Any other devotee who was in some kind of trouble or anything like this, they would call out to Krishna, and Krishna would go help them. And so when everything was okay with the Pandavas, Krishna wasn't there. But when there was some problem, Krishna, He has so much love and affection, and He doesn't like to see any of His beloved devotees suffer. And so He immediately comes to help that person out of their suffering. And so Gurudev would say that the Pandavas, they even created so many problems themselves. They put it upon themselves and arranged so many things, that so many terrible things could happen to them, just so that Krishna would come and be with them and help them and save them. So this is the one way to understand and look at the problems in our life, that they are really an opportunity to remember Krishna and have His association. And this is a great opportunity, because in this material world there's so many chances for so much suffering, that we can remember Krishna all the time, because we are always suffering, like Prabhupada would say. So what a great benediction. Then we can always chant the holy name and associate with Krishna in that way and be happy forever. Ghora Premanande Hari Hari Bo.